How's it going, everyone? It's Juan Romero here from Switchwatch. I hope you're all doing really well. I'm back with another review. This is Ghost 1.0 on the Nintendo Switch. If you're a new watcher here and want game reviews and gameplay videos, then hit that subscribe button for everything Nintendo Switch related and for your chance to win a game with us here at Switchwatch on a monthly basis. This month's theme is football. If you find any hidden footage in one of our videos, be sure to comment on that particular video and timestamp it for your chance to win Gunbird 2 in July. Let's get on with the review. In terms of the story here, Ghost 1.0 is set in the future. Bogan and Jaka are two cyber criminals who have desires to infiltrate a space station owned by the Nakamura Corporation. This corporation is the biggest and richest supplier of androids, and the player begins in the chassis, which is controlled by a humanoid lifeform known as Ghost. Ghost is a freelance spy who has sneaked into the space station on behalf of Bogan and Jaka, and the chassis is used as her physical body. The aim here is to steal source code which controls all of the androids, and are using Ghost to do this. Of course, acquiring such code can then be sold to the highest bidder, but will this go as planned? I have to say that from an indie developer, the story is quite impressive. The narrative is told well. I really enjoyed how it's all voice acted, which I think is excellent, and the fact that the cutscenes are often very funny. Sometimes you even get to control parts of the story later in the game, which is a brilliant little touch. The best thing about this though is when you stop playing and then load up a saved game.
Previously on Ghost 1.0.
Ghost, we will sneak you into the Nakamura space station in an inconspicuous storage container.
Look, they have a 3D printer.
The game tells a story as if you've finished watching your last favourite episode or something. It gives you a full recap, which is an excellent idea. I don't think I've ever seen this before in a game, and I think it's fantastic, especially if you haven't played this for a while and just want a reminder of what's happened so far. Moving on to gameplay, Ghost 1.0 is a Metroidvania game, and with recent Metroidvania games such as Hollow Knight and Yoku's Island Express Axiom Verge previously dropping on the Switch, I was interested to see how Ghost 1.0 stacked up, especially at such a cheap price. The first thing I noticed was how nice and tight the controls were on the Switch. Everything felt natural, and again, for me, these types of games are just such a natural fit for playing in handheld mode. This is your usual 2D affair. Now, if you've played Axiom Verge, then this is something you may enjoy. At first, things start off very simply. You can jump, shoot your basic weapon at enemies, which consist of robots, androids of all varying shapes and sizes. Lasers will fire at you, and you'll have to dodge these by crouching, rolling, jumping. There's also traps, and you'll have to maneuver through these at times. Often, you'll be given a task, which will mean you exploring the space station itself, and you'll have to find something like 5 pieces of a key card so you can progress to the next zone. Each zone has this sort of similar theme of exploring and finding the next key card, which I did find a tad repetitive after putting in 6 or 7 hours. It would have been nice to change it up a little bit. There are lots of upgrade options, which I really love about games like these, and because many of the upgrades are also passive, you don't have to mess about with equipping them. They will work in tandem, and you can have as many as you like equipped. The more you have, the more overpowered you become. My favourite was having my own little drones fly next to me and shooting anything in sight. The little drone that I had was my best friend. When I had just one of them, I went into a dark room and it automatically shot all of the floating mines that were hiding around trying to kill me, saving my life in the process. Suffice to say, the drone was my Wilson ever since. Now, there are lots of weapons here to collect. Early on, you'll be able to add homing shots to your primary weapon, for example. You'll be able to add up to 3 secondary weapons which you can equip, and you can use these in tandem with your primary weapon. It's great. A nice shotgun comes in handy, that's for sure, and I especially love the machine gun to get me out of tight situations. Collecting yellow cubes is essential, as this is the game's currency. The quicker you collect the yellow cubes, the more valuable they are. The longer you wait to pick them up, the less valuable they become, so it's essential to get those magnetic upgrades so you don't even have to worry, they just float towards you. There are even upgrades on the skill tree to make the timers on these yellow boxes last longer, so that when you collect them they're more valuable, which is also really handy. Now there are shops that you can spend all of this currency on weapons and upgrades and all sorts of things, and there's also other perks that you can pick up and assign to the joypad buttons for shortcuts such as regaining health over time when you need it the most. Fighting enemies becomes more difficult as you progress, so making sure you've upgraded sufficiently is essential, but the flip side to this is that enemies will become more difficult the more items and upgrades you collect. So there is a little bit of a trade-off here. Now there are rooms where you can set off alarms on purpose just to kill everything that comes at you so you can gain more of these yellow cubes, thus giving you more income. Your primary weapon has infinite bullets, which will need to recharge. Now if you keep hold of the fire button, bullets will still shoot out, but they'll shoot out really slowly. So when there's chaos on screen, you may have to make sure that you're being able to rest the primary by using your secondary weapon or by picking up blue energy cubes that the enemies drop. These will instantly boost your weapon up again. You can also use little perks which you've bought to help recharge weapons quicker, and once you use these perks you have to make sure that you recharge them in a shop, which will cost you credits. Nothing's ever free, I'm afraid. Blasting enemies is fun, it keeps you on your toes, that is for sure. There's always some type of new enemy to discover. In fact, the map has over 300 rooms which are split into zones, each with their own boss, and each zone having its own ambience. And whether it's a robotic gun shooting you from the ceiling, which gets repaired by a little flying android if left long enough, I hate those little things, make sure you kill them because otherwise everything will just regenerate. There's big heavy robots which fire missiles at you that hurt, and then you've got your normal looking androids which will chase you down firing lasers at you. It is a challenge, that's for sure. It's all here. When you get to the green zone, for example, enemies will change. You'll come across more plant based enemies and insects which can hurt you with toxic poison as an example. There's also shortcuts within the map to find. I really liked the saving system in this game though. It makes you think about how much risk you want to take. I suppose very similar to the bench system in Hollow Knight, except there are slight differences. Every save room here has the ability to 3D print your chassis, which you control. If you save with a new weapon, then that weapon will always print with your chassis. When you load the game, fail to save with your new weapon, and if you've spent your hard-earned yellow cubes on that shiny new weapon and you become dead, you won't be saying hello to your little friend again unless you're lucky enough to pick it up at your death site. Now be aware this is not always the case. You will lose most of your cubes if you die as well. So I like that there is a bit of a penalty here. It's a little bit roguelike in that respect. Each save room you find has the ability to teleport you from one to another, making transport from one area to the next nice and easy. The other part I really like to this game is the slight puzzle aspect. While none of them are that brain taxing, you do have to think from time to time. At any point you can press X on the pad to leave the chassis as a ghost. You can fly around the screen going through walls or objects, and you can even control enemies wishing to kill you, which is a lot of fun as you can turn on them, killing those enemies looking to hunt you down. But the main reason is usually to sort of find a control panel as a robot and to find that important switch that opens a certain door for you. You can then zap straight back into your chassis at the touch of a button. It never gets old, and if you've ever played Oddworld and liked controlling Mudokins, Scrabs or Sligs, then you can have fun messing around here too. There are some hilarious moments within the game. Ghost, our female protagonist, is always in contact with those asking her what to do, and the audio exchanges are funny, but they'll also give you hints. Now while finding the greenhouse, I had to traverse for a place with service bots. If I didn't say konnichiwa to them while going past, they would raise the alarm, and it was literally instant death. It was those little touches here that I really did enjoy. Now there's also skill points that you can upgrade on Ghost, the chassis and a number of other things. Each opens up a skill tree with all manner of perks that you can upgrade. So this adds also a nice little RPG element to this game. So while the game is quite cheap, there is quite a bit of depth here. And like many Metroidvania games, there's certain things you either love about these types of games and things that you're not going to like. Personally, I don't see them much as flaws, but I do understand how they can frustrate some people. I think that the map in the game is easy to use, but I do really wish there was a way to toggle a mini-map. It'd just be incredibly handy rather than pausing to see where you are each time. The good thing is there's always a little arrow to let you know what rooms you can still explore, which keeps you from getting lost, which is a great little addition. Now there is a bit of backtracking, and I know some people don't like backtracking, but there is that in this game sometimes, but it can be mitigated quite a bit if you use the teleport function. Now while bosses are tough, you can always make sure that you keep finding cubes, and upgrading as much as you can before facing the boss in the area in order to progress. But be aware that you're going to die quite a bit at first and you'll lose those cubes, and it's going to be really frustrating having to collect them all again just so that you can buy a weapon. There was a point where I bought a machine gun. I spent, I don't know how much it was, 2,000 cubes. I died in the next room, had to collect all those cubes again just to buy that weapon again. So just be aware of that. So in terms of audio then, the winner definitely here for me is the voice acting. While it's not stellar standard, it really adds so much to the game.
Jacker was managing the whole operation when suddenly we found ourselves forced to leave the place in a hurry. What's up? Something wrong?
Well, the part where you joined the team to assault the underground fortress isn't wrong, but we needed an archer.
An archer?
Okay, when you enter the dungeon,
You really get a sense of the characters and their personality, which is always a little harder when you're just reading text. The bad though is definitely how some of the weapons sound. The main weapon becomes a little grating, and I wasn't massively keen on the sounds made while shooting things and the resulting explosions. Just sounded way too loud and tinny at times, and a little irritating on the ears. Other than that though, it was a minor annoyance, and you can turn the sound effects down in the options screen, which I had to do. In terms of visuals and performance, the visuals are decent, but there is only so much you can really do with a space station in terms of environments, and I think it holds the game back, but only slightly. Once you've seen one steel corridor after another, you've really seen them all, and whilst the developer breaks it up from time to time, it can't compare to games like Yoku's Island or Hollow Knight in terms of those beautiful backgrounds on the Switch. And while each zone is slightly different, it does feel a little less imaginative. Now, it may be a little unfair to compare, but when you have all of these games competing for your cash in a similar price bracket, it's just something to know. Otherwise, the designs of the enemies, the protagonist, and effects of the lasers are all rather good. Everything ran as smooth as butter too, which is great, and I liked the cutscenes as well. Although they are budget, they worked really well and looked decent enough. In terms of value then, the game is really cheap at the moment. It's £7.19, which has 20% off at this moment in time, and it's easy to recommend a game like this with the value on offer. We're talking about a 13-hour game to complete this one, and add another 3 hours or so for completionists. It's not the largest game in the world, but that's more than enough hours for this price. And it's good gaming quality as well. Add in the survival mode, which is a faster experience. You get more stuff a lot quicker, but if you die you lose it all, so that's the downside to that. In terms of my verdict then, there's so much to like about Ghost 1.0 that it's easy to recommend to anyone who likes exploring, a little bit of platforming, shooting laser guns up in a space station. There are some small flaws, but nothing that will kill your enjoyment of this game. If you have around 15 hours to spare and like Metroidvania type games, then this is certainly one I recommend adding to your collection. This one then, a solid 8 out of 10. I hope you enjoyed this review, guys. If you did and you like my work and you like the work we do here at Switchwatch, please hit that thumbs up button. It just shows that you've appreciated this video review, and we really appreciate that as well. If you'd like to leave us a comment down below, let me know your thoughts on this game or this review. I'd love to hear from you, and I'll do my very best to respond as always. And if you're a new watcher here, then don't forget, hit that subscribe button so we can notify you of our next video, and so you can win our monthly prizes. And for all of you existing subscribers, thank you for watching, thank you for supporting, as again, we really appreciate it. My name is Juan Romero from Switchwatch, and of course, I'll see all of you lovely people again on the next one. Take care.
that monster's too tough. Destroying it isn't going to be easy.
Trust Ghost. She'll know how to beat it.